Excuse me. The Odyssey tells the story of Odysseus, a Greek hero of the Trojan War. It describes his long trip home after the fall of Troy. He faces storms, monsters, and witches along the way. Odysseus finally returns to his wife. According to the poem, it takes Odysseus 10 years to accomplish his arrival in Greece. Oh, excuse me. Today, people use the word Odyssey, a word taken from his name, to describe a long, exciting journey. Greeks believed the Iliad and the Odyssey were more than stories. They looked on the epics as real history. These poems gave the Greeks an ideal past with a cast of heroes. One Athenian wrote, "My father, in his pains to make me a good man, compelled me to learn the whole of Homer's poets." Homer's stories taught courage and honor. They also taught that it was important to be loyal to your friends and to value the relationship between husband and wife. The stories showed heroes striving to be the best they could be. Heroes fought to protect their own honor and their family's honor. Homer's heroes became the role models for Greek boys. O friends, be men, so act that none may feel ashamed to meet the eyes of other men. Think each one of his children and his wife, his home, his parents, living yet or dead. From the Iliad by Homer. A little excerpt there. Aesop's Fables. Have you heard the stories, The Fox and the Grapes, or The Boy Who Cried Wolf? These stories have traditionally been credited to a man named Aesop. He is supposed to have lived and told stories around 550 BC. Historians now know that Aesop probably never existed. However, the stories he's supposed to have told certainly do exist. They are known as Aesop's Fable. A fable is a short tale that teaches a lesson. In most of Aesop's fables, animals speak and act like people. These stories are often funny and show human weaknesses and strengths. Each fable ends with a moral or useful truth. One of Aesop's popular fables is The Hare and the Tortoise. In this fable, a slow-moving tortoise or turtle and a speedy hare or rabbit race each other. Soon, the hare is far ahead, sure of victory, and the hare stops to take a nap. Meanwhile, the tortoise keeps slowly moving. He passes the sleeping rabbit and wins the race. The moral of the story is, slow and steady wins the race. Many phrases from Aesop's fables are still in use, including, it is easy to dislike something you cannot have, and appearances can be deceiving. Aesop's fables were told during the time that is known as the Golden Age of Greece. During this period, art, philosophy, architecture, and literature flourished. For 200 years, Aesop's fables were a part of Greek oral tradition. This means that the stories were passed from generation to generation by word of mouth. It took many years before these tales were written down. Since then, Aesop's fables have been translated into many languages. They are still read by people around the world today. The impact of Greek drama. The ancient Greeks created and performed the first dramas. A drama is a story that is told mainly through the words and actions of a cast of characters. A drama is performed by actors. In ancient Greece, the way they performed on stage, in ancient Greece, they were performed on stage. Many of today's movies, plays, and television shows are dramas. Think about your favorite movie. How would you describe it? Is it humorous? Is it a serious story? Greek drama can be divided into two categories, tragedy and comedy. In a tragedy, the main character struggles to overcome hardships but does not succeed. As a result, the story has a tragic or unhappy ending. The earliest Greek plays were tragedies. Later, the Greeks also wrote comedies. In a comedy, the story ends happily. Today, the word comedy means a story filled with humor. During the 5th century BC, 4 writers emerged as the greatest Greek dramatists or writers emerged as the greatest Start over. Lost my spot. During the 5th century BC, 4 writers emerged as the greatest Greek dramatists or writers. Aeschylus, so here's another one of those words. Aeschylus, Sophocles, Euripides, and Aristophanes. Say that fast. These 4 dramatists wrote their plays during the Golden Age of Greece, which was from about 500 to 350 BC. Aeschylus was the earliest Greek dramatist. One of his dramas is a set of 3 plays called the Oresteia. I hope I said that right. Yeah, Oresteia. This drama tells about a Greek king's return from the Trojan War and the troubles that strike his family. The Oresteia is a story about revenge and murder. It shows how one evil action can lead to another. Although the play ends tragically, good triumphs over evil in the end. Sophocles was a great Athenian writer. In his plays, Sophocles accepted suffering as a real part of life. He also stressed courage and understanding. In his play, Antigone, yeah, that's how, it looks like Antigone, but it's Antigone. Sophocles questions whether it is better to obey orders or to do what one believes to be right. Another leading Greek dramatist was Euripides. Unlike Aeschylus and Sophocles, Euripides wrote about ordinary human beings in realistic situations. His plays often show the suffering caused by war. In theaters today, the actors include men, women, and children. In ancient Greece, however, only men could be actors. Even female characters were played by male actors. The most famous writer of the Greek comedies was Aristophanes. His works poked fun at the leaders and issues of his day. He encouraged people to think and laugh. Many of Aristophanes' comedies included jokes, just as television comedy shows do today. How Greek drama developed. Drama was more than entertainment for the people of ancient Greece. It was a part of religious festivals and a way to show loyalty to their city-state. In early Greek dramas, a group of performers called the chorus presented the story through singing and dancing. Later, dramas used several actors on stage. Then, stories were created using action and conflicts among the characters. Greek art and architecture. The ancient Greeks excelled in the arts of architecture. They created works that expressed the ideals of reason, balance, and harmony. The characteristics of Greek art became the artistic style that we now call classical. Classical Greek art set standards of beauty that people still admire today. The Greeks constructed beautiful buildings. Every Greek city-state had a temple dedicated to a god or goddess. Temples such as the Parthenon included a central room that housed statues of the gods. Large, graceful columns supported many Greek buildings. Some famous buildings in Washington, D.C., such as the White House and the Capitol, have Greek columns. Sculpture decorated many Greek temples. The human body was the favorite subject of Greek artists. Greek sculptures tried to show ideal beauty in perfect human forms. Greek thinkers. The Greeks believed the human mind was capable of great understanding. During the Golden Age of Greece, from approximately 500 BC to 350 BC, art, architecture, and literature all flourished. This was also a very fertile time for the life of the mind. Most of the thinkers discussed in this chapter were part of that exciting time. They were pondering deep questions about truth and also developing the study of science and mathematics. Greek thinkers produced some of the most remarkable ideas the world has ever known. One type of thinker was involved in creating a new body of knowledge. These thinkers were known as philosophers. The body of knowledge they created is called philosophy. Philosophy is a Greek word that means love of wisdom. Through philosophy, Greek philosophers helped develop the study of many subjects, including history, political science, biology, and logic, or the study of reasoning. The Sophists. Many Greek philosophers were teachers. A group of philosophers known as the Sophists traveled from polis to polis. They made a living by teaching. The Sophists taught many subjects, including mathematics, science, and history. However, they were best known for teaching rhetoric of the art of public speaking and debate. Sophists did not believe that the gods influenced human actions. They also rejected the idea of absolute right or wrong. For the Sophists, a way of life that was right for one person might be wrong for another. The Sophists not only challenged Greek traditions, but they also accepted money for their teaching. Other Greek philosophers did not approve of this practice. Many Greeks also thought that the Sophists lacked ideals and values. Critics claim that the Sophists taught students to win arguments rather than seek truths. Which is more important? Who was Socrates? Although a sculptor by training, Socrates loved philosophy. He lived in ancient Athens and spent most of his time teaching. Socrates did not leave a written record of his beliefs. Information about him is found in his students' writings. These writings reveal that Socrates was a harsh critic of the Sophists. Unlike the Sophists, Socrates believed in absolute truth and that all real knowledge was within each person. In his search for truth, Socrates created a new way of questioning called the Socratic method. Today, many university professors use the Socratic method when they teach. Socrates did not lecture. Instead, he asked pointed questions and waited for his students to respond. He wanted students to find the answers for themselves and form their own opinions. Some Athenian leaders believed that the Socratic method was dangerous. At one time, Athens had allowed its people to speak freely. They would publicly question their leaders. However, when Athens lost the Peloponnesian War, its new rulers limited this freedom. The Athenians no longer trusted open debate. This method of discussion, however, was exactly what Socrates thought was necessary. He continued to teach his students. In 399 BC, city leaders, fearing his influence, arrested Socrates. They charged that he had urged young people to rebel against the government. A jury found Socrates guilty and sentenced him to death. Following the verdict of the court, Socrates was given the opportunity to leave Athens and live. Instead, he stayed. Surrounded by his students and friends, Socrates gave his last speech. He said that he was living under the city's laws. As a result, he stated he was committed to obeying them. Socrates then drank poison to carry out the jury's sentence and died. Plato's ideas. The two Greek philosophers you may have heard of are Plato and Aristotle. The philosopher Plato was one of Socrates' students. Plato became a teacher and founded a school in Athens called the Academy. Unlike Socrates, Plato recorded his ideas in writing. One work Plato wrote was The Republic. It represented his plan for an ideal society and government. In the Republic, Plato organized society into three groups. At the top were philosopher kings. They ruled through logic and wisdom. Warriors, the second group, defended society from attack using force. The third group included the rest of the people, us regular people. The role was to produce society's food, clothing, and shelter. They lacked the wisdom of the kings and the courage of the warriors. Plato believed that an ideal society must have a just and reasonable government. In the Republic, Plato noted his dislike of Athenian democracy. He wrote that the common people did not think for themselves and that they could be easily influenced into making foolish decisions. Plato believed that philosopher kings were intelligent and well educated. He felt these kings would place the needs of the community ahead of their own needs. Plato wanted only these philosopher kings to govern the citizens of Greece. Despite his distrust of the common people, Plato was willing to grant more rights to women. He believed that women should have the same opportunities for education and jobs that men have. Who was Aristotle? Another Greek thinker of ancient Greece was Aristotle. He wrote more than 200 works on topics such as government, astronomy, and political science. In 355 BC, Aristotle started a school called the Lyceum. At this school, he taught his students the golden mean. The mean is a middle position between two extremes. The idea of the golden mean is that people should live moderately. For example, individuals should not eat too little or too much. Instead, they should eat just enough to stay well. Aristotle had many interests, including science. He studied the stars, plants, and animals and carefully recorded what he observed. Aristotle classified living things according to their similarities and differences. Aristotle's methods were an important step in the development of modern science. Like Plato, Aristotle also wrote about government. He studied and compared the governments of different city-states and hoped to find the best political system. In his books, Politics, Aristotle divided government into 3 types. Greek philosophers. Let's see. There's a chart there. I want to show you that. I'm going to move the phone so you can see this. Greek philosophers. Sophists, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, and their opinions or their ideas. Okay, back to the reading. The first was monarchy, or rule by one person. Now, this is talking about the division of government. The second was oligarchy, which is ruled by a few people. The third type was democracy, or rule by many. Which type do we have? Aristotle believed the best government had features of all 3. A chief executive would serve as the head of state. A council or legislator would assist this leader and be supported by the people. Aristotle's ideas influenced the way Europeans and Americans thought about government. The authors of the United States Constitution, like Aristotle, believed that no one person or group should have too much power. Indeed. New history and science ideas. Guiding question: what did the Greeks believe about history and science? The Greeks used their thinking skills to write history. They also investigated the natural world. They developed new ways of studying science and history. The Greeks and history. In many ways, the ancient Greeks were like most people living at that time. They believed that legends and myths were true. People did not analyze events in order to explain the past. Then, in 435 BC, the Greek thinker Herodias wrote a history of the Persian Wars. Herodotus wrote that the gods played a role in historical events. However, he made a great effort to separate fact from fiction. Like a news reporter, he questioned many people to get information, but then he investigated the truthfulness of these sources. Is that what our reporters do today? Because of Herodotus' careful research, many European and American historians consider him the father of history. Another famous historian of ancient Greece was, this is a word that is very new, Thucydides. 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 He was a general in the Peloponnesian War. I still didn't say his name correctly. Thucydides. He was a general in the Peloponnesian War. The two great Greek city-states of Athens and Sparta fought in this conflict, which lasted nearly 30 years. 30 years. Wow. Thucydides considered this war to be a major event in world history. Wow, it's already been 20 minutes. Okay, a few more pages to go. Thucydides considered this war to be a major event in world history. After the war, he wrote The History of the Peloponnesian War. Unlike Herodotus, Thucydides rejected the idea that the gods affected human history. Thucydides believed that only people made history. In his writing, Thucydides tried hard to be accurate and impartial. Thucydides acted like a modern roving reporter. He visited battle sites, and he also carefully examined documents. In addition, he accepted only actual eyewitness reports of events. Thucydides did not just state the facts. He also explored the causes and effects of the events. He believed that future generations could learn from the past. Moreover, as a historian, he wanted to leave behind ideas and commentary so that others could learn. For example, in the history of the Peloponnesian War, Thucydides wrote of a warning to Sparta. And yet, Sparta, you will delay. You fail to see that peace stays longest with those who show their determination not to submit to injustice. Your habits are old-fashioned as compared with those of Athens. It is the law as in art, so in politics, that improvements will win out. Athens has made greater progress than you on the path of innovation. That's from The History of the Peloponnesian War by Thucydides. The first scientists. The ancient Greeks developed many scientific ideas. These ideas have influenced scientific thinking for centuries. In ancient times, most people thought that their gods controlled nature. Early Greek scientists had a different idea. They thought that natural events could be explained logically, and that people could discover the causes for these events by using reason. The first important Greek scientist was Thales of Miletus, born in the mid-600s BC. Thales studied astronomy and mathematics. He did not have telescopes and other instruments that scientists use today. Thales made discoveries and developed theories by observing and thinking. Another Greek scientist, okay, here we go. Pythagoras, Pythagoras, like Pythagoras theorem, Pythagoras, Pythagoras. Pythagoras taught his pupils that the universe followed the same laws that governed music and numbers. He believed that all relationships could be expressed in numbers. As a result, he developed many new ideas about mathematics. Most people know his name because of the Pythagorean theorem that is still used in geometry today. It is a way to determine the length of the sides of a triangle. Ancient Greek medicine. And this is page 227 and the final page. My husband is calling. He's wondering while I'm still at work. It is 10 after 6 and I'm still at work. Okay, almost finished. I'll have to call my hubby back later. Ancient Greek medicine. Greek scientists also studied medicine or the science of treating diseases. Hippocrates was a physician in ancient Greece who was regarded as the father of medicine. He believed diseases came from natural causes. Most people at that time thought evil spirits caused diseases. Hippocrates traveled all over Greece to help the sick. He used his new ideas to diagnose different illnesses. He also discovered his own treatments to help cure the sick people. Hippocrates created a list of rules about how doctors should use their skills to help patients. His rules are listed in the Hippocratic Oath. The oath says that doctors should do their best to help the patient. It also says that they should protect the patient's privacy. Today, doctors around the world still promise to honor the Hippocratic Oath. Okay, that was pages 212 to 227. I hope you will take time to enjoy this reading, and as you read, think about it, because reading is thinking. And it's a little longer, as I said, than 20 minutes, so you can split it into 2 parts. Listen 10 minutes and then go back and listen to the other. But I hope you will take advantage of this. It will save you some time, and you can multitask, read or listen to this and do something else, or sit down with your history book if you took it home with you, which I hope you did, and follow along, because it will help you to identify some of those words that I had fun pronouncing. And it will, so that when you hear them in your social studies class, it will be a little more familiar. All right, looking forward to seeing you in class tomorrow. Much success. Bye.